today we're going to talk about TheraNest, another EHR. And so we will start with pricing before we log in. So they do things a little differently. As far as I can understand, it is per client and not per clinician. So I guess depending on how many clients you're seeing, it might make sense and it might be cheaper to use this. And they have month-to-month plans and then annual plans. And so, yeah, it only goes up to 80 clients. So if you have a group practice, that might not be enough. And I guess, probably staying on top of like archiving clients and things like that would be important to stay within these, under these limits here. So just something to consider when you're thinking about pricing. And so they have customer support. So that seems to be a big thing with them. They have lots of ways to contact customer support and all of that. And yeah, they have, so yes, you can have unlimited users. So it seems like that doesn't matter. It's how many clients you have in the system that affects the billing. So they have things that are included. So customizable cancellation policy, scheduling, appointment reminders, emails included, but for texting and phone, that's 10 cents per call or text. You do have to pay more for the HIPAA compliant messaging and self-scheduling on the client portal. So that's something to keep in mind for sure. That's included with a lot of EHR. So just keep that in mind. You do get one license, I guess, with each subscription. But again, if you have more than one therapist, you want to keep that in mind. And then the e-prescribe is $65 a month per clinician. Let's see what else. They do have the Wiley treatment planner for your progress notes, which is a great add-on, but that is $25 per month per therapist. But otherwise, you can totally, customize progress notes and things like that. And then here's the billing section. So they do the electronic claims filing, and those are the rates there. And otherwise, credit card processing, things like that. They integrate with lots of, and they do invoicing, kind of the standard things. And then they actually have a lot of reporting, which is nice. We'll get into that in a little bit. So just some things to consider on their pricing. It's just different. So it's probably important to do the math if you are considering this one. So we'll go on over here. So you sort of like log in. This is what the screen looks like. And it has your schedule and your overview for the day, but you can change that to like calendar view or, something else. And that shows up your calendar view, and then you can view your availability. And that's easy to change. You can bulk edit appointments, which I think is a nice thing. And then if you had unconfirmed appointments, they would show up here. So I think overall, like a nice home screen. I think that's a nice way. You can add progress notes easily, see what's going on here, invoice. So yeah, I think that's a nice home screen. And then I guess if I had more appointments in here, it would be a little easier to see. But there you can, edit your progress notes there, add an invoice. And then you can change the status of appointments, no show, late cancel, canceled, kept, or upcoming. So yeah, a nice navigation there on the front end when you first just log in. So the next feature, so they have a nice task sort of setup. So, let's say, you wanted to add a new task for a client, you can add that here. You can put the title there, which client that it's related to, the priority, and then you could put any information there. And the due date. So I do like that. And I'm not sure how the reminders work for it, but it seems like a nice just way to organize your task. And then you can easily see what's past due, what's due today, this week, next week, this month, or completed. So just a nice task manager. And then if you don't want something to show up here, you can get rid of it. And then you can easily mark it as complete. So then it will disappear, but then it'll still show up under your completed task. So again, that's a nice feature, easy to use task manager. And then clients. So yeah, your clients go here, and it's easy to add a new client, or you can add a new group. And so that would be if you have a family or something like that. So either if you're doing, I guess, group therapy or family, and then you would search for the clients that are part of that group. So if you have couples, you would put like each couple, each member of the couple into, they would have their own client profile, and then you would add them to, a family thing. Or if you were doing a group, you could add all the different clients in there, but you would have to add the clients in individually to create that group. And so, if, they're in family therapy together, then they would show up there. And so go back here though. And then they also have prospective clients. So if you're, really on top of, okay, I've reached out to this person, all of that, you can add them here. And you can put in their information. You can put notes and say, I'm going to follow up with this person, or this is how I found this person. You can put that there. So a nice way to organize sort of prospective clients. And then we'll go on to each individual client. So this is what their sort of looks like. And then you can put in like a default service type. So if they are just doing 90834, you can just stick that there, and it'll make it easier when you're putting in a session for them. That'll auto populate. You can put contacts here, so you can add additional email, contact, any client notes, and you can put, these little check boxes here. Let's see. I don't think any of this is editable, so I'm not sure that you can change any of these things here. You can like write your own pronouns in there and things like that, but I think all of this is standard. Although you might be able to change it under the dynamic forms. So we'll check that out in a minute. So this is all the client information. Again, it's just a simple, you can even put place for income, things like that. If you want, you can see their ledger, if they owe money, their schedule, easily archive them, and you can see all of their notes. So up here, this isn't my favorite thing, but that's just my own personal thing. So I just think the tabs are kind of hard to notice. But anyway, so you have general details, which we're under, and then additional details. And so that's a lot of other, questions and things like that are there. Insurance information you can put there. And, or if somebody else is, responsible for billing, you can put that information here. This is where you would assign it if somebody else was working with this client, if you have a group practice. And here's where you can add family members to the client. So again, if you're working with a couple or you have a minor and you want to put family members here, you can do that. And and then contact network. So if you wanted to put in, or you know what, maybe this is more for if you are doing a group. So this is for group appointments, things like that. This contact network is probably where you're going to put like parents or something like that. And you would put their information, add contact, and then you can put their information, their relationship to the client, any other information. And then you can choose to let them have access to the client portal. So again, this might be for parents who need access to a minor's client portal to do payment or manage sessions or something like that. And then I guess that's nice. You can add them as a client easily if you needed to. Then general documents. So if you had uploaded any documents, that they would show up here. And then shared forms, when they submit intake forms, they would also show up here. And this easily shows any reminders that they receive. So text messages, emails, things like that. So if they say, I didn't get the reminder, you can say, well, it says here that it was sent at this day and time. So that makes that easy. And then you can get reports, appointment reports, maybe cancellations, things like that, payment history, notes history, all of that, credit card, debit card payment consent. So that's built in, and a telehealth informed consent, which again, if they had completed it, that would be done here. So again, it's pretty comprehensive, pretty easy to navigate, and easy to see notes and things like that once they're here. So easy to add in, and as I mentioned, it does include the Wiley planner on there, so it would include it here if it paid for it. So let me head back here. And so if you go into the note section of the client's profile, so it would have, any of their information, so cases, and they have that as a collection of notes and clinical information, organized that way. And then, I don't know how to get back to the screen. Okay. And then, yep, there we go. Case info. So if you wanted to organize it, contact log, again, this would be if you met with a psychiatrist or something like that. It's easy to add in here what you did, their relationship to the client, means of contact, and a note. Initial assessment and diagnostic code. So I kind of like this. It's just sort of like your initial, thoughts. And I think this is I like that it's separated. I like that it's its own thing here. So it's easy to pull up quickly and see sort of your initial thoughts on this person. And then treatment plans are here too. And so let's see. So you can add client goals here and all of that. And you can add as many goals as you want. And yeah, all of this is here. Progress notes. And you can edit the format for these. And they have different templates, but again, easy to use. Some check boxes. One thing I like is you can, for like the mental status, you can just click all within normal limits, and then it'll just fill that in for you to make it easy. And I think you can even have predefined, if you can change the options here, but you can also make it pop up so that it will automatically, I think, have those things there. And yeah, again, this brings you back to the treatment goals and things like that. And so you can put all of that in there. Clinical documents. So this would be any forms they filled out, as I mentioned before, and then any questionnaires they filled out. And again, you can archive these so that they don't show up here. If you don't use these, you don't have to have all of these up here. They have good faith estimate already built in, which is nice. So you can have them sign that, and all of this can be completed. So if they completed it, it would be here, or it would show up signed here, and you can just see sort of all of the things that they've filled out. So these are the defaults that they have. And so again, if you don't want them, you can edit them here. So you could archive, if you don't want the ACEs questionnaire for whatever reason, you could archive it, and then it won't show up under your client. So let's see here. Yeah, so that got rid of the ACEs. So it's, or hold on, wrong screen. Oh, notes. Here it is. Oh, nope, ACEs is still there, even if it's archived. So maybe you can't get rid of these things. You can rearrange them, but I am not sure you can get rid of them. I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like it's a little crowded, but maybe that doesn't bother you. And I feel like it's a little confusing to figure out how to get to these things. But again, I imagine, as with any of these things, you're going to get used to it the more you use it. But anyway, back to forms. So yeah, this is where all the forms show up. You can edit them, you can duplicate them, you can copy it to intake forms. So the intake forms is kind of like the packet that would go out to the client, and you can edit all of these, and you can turn them off or on, or make it default or not. And so all of that's here. You can change the order that they come in, and how they'll show up for the client. And so we're in the client portal now. So they do have a client portal, and you can adjust a lot of the settings, which I think is nice. You can have them, make payments in there or not, do secure messaging or not, self-schedule, schedule an appointment within 24 hours. So it does have some nice things that you can edit here for the client portal access. So it's not an all or nothing thing, which I think is nice. And yeah, you can invite them to the portal. And so client scheduling, intake forms, self-pay, all of that, which I think is helpful. Then your general settings are here. So you can even, so if I'm understanding this, first let me go here. Service types are easy. They have a bunch of pre-populated types of services. So you can do CPT code, or you could do a non-CPT code service if you offer other things that are not categorized under the CPT. So I think that is helpful. And let's see. In the beginning, so if you go back to basic setup, which I had already gone through, they have a whole list. I'll just go ahead and go here now of services that are pre-populated. So you can easily turn these on or off. And so, that's easy to do. And I just left them all on. And then you can set up your availability and all of that. So it does walk you through sort of an easy setup when you first get in, and you can come back to it, which I think is nice. So if you forgot something or didn't set something up right or can't find it, you can easily get back to it. So we were back here with the client portal, settings, service types. So yeah, you can add in services, but these were already in there. So I just added them all. So they have an income-based payment amounts. And so you can, if somebody's like, I guess their income is between this and this, then their payment amount is this, which I think is an interesting way to manage sliding scale and things like that. So you can ask for that information in intake and then have this fill in and attach a payment amount to it, which is an interesting thing. I haven't seen that before. Referrals. So if you have people who are, like a psychiatrist or something like that, you can add them here. And they have their own payment platform. I'm not sure what their pricing is. It doesn't say here, so I don't know how much they charge for credit card processing, but it's built in. And then you can add locations, and you can add rooms. So if you have a big group practice or something like that and you want to manage who's using what room or who's going to be where, I think that's a nice feature. So you can add in different rooms. And then payroll, it will track payouts owed to therapists, which I think is cool. So, you can do, you can edit sort of like if you do percentage based, you can edit that. And so, if you do 50% or something like that, you could put that there and it'll calculate that. So I thought that was a nice extra little thing that it will do for you. Chat, there is a chat if you have more people on your staff. Since that doesn't show up. Client flags, which is nice. These are tags essentially that you can add to clients. So you can put a name there, an icon, choose an icon for it, and a color, and then it will show up next to clients if you tag them with that or flag them, I guess. You can set your cancellation policy here. And so it depends on the late cancel fee. So let's say if you have a late cancel fee, and if that's 24 hours, and then you give them the late cancel fee, and then maybe you can only add one. It's a little confusing. I would have to play around with that a little bit more. And then security, they do have multi-factor authentication, which is important. That just means that, if you log in, then you get an email saying like, type in this code or a text message or something like that. And I think that's always important, especially with HIPAA and all of that. So yeah, I think those are the big things. It seems like a good system. I have found it just, I didn't play around with it. I'm not getting to use it for clients, but having played around with it for a little bit, it seems good. I did couldn't help but notice that on Google, it does have some pretty bad reviews, in particular around billing and claims. So that's just something to keep in mind if you bill insurance. And there were some complaints about sort of the being able to contact support and things like that. So just something to consider when you are, researching these. But I think it's always important if it's something that you like. I think it is simple. It seems like easy to set up, and not too complicated. Just might take some getting used to. I don't think it quite runs the same way a lot of these other EHRs run. So let me know if you use TheraNest, if you like it or don't like it. Let me know.